Good morning, and thank you for the introduction, Dara. Green. Okay. The module that I chose to do the UDL badge on is Tissue Engineering and Regenerative Medicine. So what that actually means, what does tissue engineering mean? Well, the holy grail in tissue engineering is to develop an organ in a lab that can be implanted into a patient, so that patients don't have to wait on transplant lists and face the risk of rejection. So how it works is that a patient would undergo a biopsy. Their cells would be isolated, cultivated, seeded onto a biomaterial scaffold, it's called, and then given the right stimulus in a lab that it becomes an organ. So it's very complex, very research heavy, and it's real cutting edge. So in terms of the learning outcomes for this module, the students need to be able to explain the fundamentals of what tissue engineering actually is, define principal applications for their subject. As I said, because it is so research focused, they should be able to analyse, evaluate and draw conclusions from data and from real, as I said, cutting edge academic data. They should be able to communicate this to peers. And then very importantly, communicate their judgments with regard to ethical issues, because as you understand, there are ethical issues surrounding this. These are some examples of tissue engineered products. That's a heart valve, a piece of cartilage, and a blood vessel. So what struck me most when I did the UDL, the initial training last May, was the facilitator said to us, forget the list of topics that the student needs to learn. And in a subject like this, there's a lot of topics. It's very multidisciplinary, a lot of topics. So kind of sit back and think, how do we need to create scientists? So some of the things that I think are important is teamwork. As I said, it's very multidisciplinary. Critical thinking, they need to access that cutting edge research. They need to be able to build a network of peer support around themselves, and they need to understand the big picture. So these are the key elements that I've picked out. How to get there, embedding lots of group activities in the module. For critical thinking, I chose to have the students create a video, and I will talk about this. For the network, the students built a study forum together. And for the big picture and things like mind maps and posters. So I'm going to talk about these three elements for the rest of the presentation. So the creative video, I asked the students, this was an assignment, to create a 10-minute video on a topic of their choice. The goal of the video was that they demonstrate knowledge and understanding of the area. How I kind of embedded some UDL principles into this was, say in week one when the students were picking their topics, this was a facilitated session. So I would have had them in class accessing their smartphones, laptops to search for information, and I would have guided the information searching at that point, showing them how to access our library databases and find relevant information there. They submitted a scope document to me then the following week, and I got them feedback on that document within 3 days to tell them were they on the right track and had they chosen appropriate topics. The week before the deadline then, the students booked library meeting rooms, and I facilitated a kind of a production and editing session at that point for them to put their videos together. They uploaded them then to a private YouTube channel, and then there was a peer review process after that. So here are some of the screenshots of the videos. These two on the left are from the same video. This video was very high-end. The editing was excellent. They put lots of image montages together with music and voiceovers. As I said, very high-end editing. Other students did a simpler approach. So the student stood in front of a whiteboard with a lovely picture of a heart, and she talked in a lecture-style fashion. This group did a documentary-style video where they had a video screen in the background and they had pictures coming up. So a real varied approach to how they displayed their information, which was really nice to see. So how does it fit in with UDL? I've highlighted some of the aspects I think it's touched upon. Mainly, I think it provided students with multiple means of action and expression, and it gave them options for response and navigation. I think in terms of scaffolding it, I was able to build fluencies with graduated levels of support into the assignment for them. Importantly, I think the peer review process really motivated students at the outset. They knew that these videos were going to be on YouTube, even though it was a private channel, and that really raised their expectations of what they wanted to get from this. So the second aspect was to build a study site. I was inspired by David Rose with this. He talked about students' note-taking in class and the different types of notes that students will take if you give it to them. So for this assignment, I assigned every student a topic. So these are the list of topics here. For each topic, maybe 2 to 3 students would be assigned the same topic. Their brief was that they had to be in class on the day that that topic was being presented. They had to take notes, and that they had to summate those notes back to me via a kind of a blog page. So this is what our blog page looked like in the end. This was available to the students in the run-up to their exams as a study guide. So there was a tab for every topic that was on the module. So you can see here there's gene therapy perspective 1, perspective 2, and perspective 3. So that's where 3 students would have written a blog on the same topic. So what they had coming up to the exam then was a study guide, but not only one set of notes for each topic. They had 3 sets of notes, 3 sets of representations for each topic. So it really worked well. I really liked this entry. So this was a student who decided to actually take out a pen and paper and draw a mind map of her topic, and it was a topic called biochemical signals. The next student who did biochemical signals presented it in a PowerPoint format, and then the third student did it in a Word document with words and text and images. So it was really nice. So provided alternatives for them when they were studying for alternative visual information, but within the assignment itself, it provided multiple means of action and expression. The peer review process, as I said, motivated students at the outset, and I think the layout of the blog it guided information processing and enabled them to see the big picture. So the third aspect of the badge, I talked about these mind maps, or posters as we call them in class. So I'd hand out flip chart paper to the class, put them into groups, tell them brainstorm a topic there for 5 minutes, take out your phones maybe, tell me something that I haven't taught you, find out something new and put it on the poster. They'd put them up on the wall or on the whiteboard there halfway through the class, and we'd all walk around and look at them. On occasion, I would keep the posters, give it back to them on the next class, and they would add to it. And we kept this going at one stage for about 8 lectures, where they kept adding to the same poster. They kept it then as an exam revision aid. They kept these posters, so I don't have pictures of them. But see, these are some posters that I did happen to have. So you can see I like this picture of a pig. So very different approaches to how they display their information. So it offered ways for them to customize their information and highlight patterns and relationships. So I did survey the students then at the end of term. I'd survey them at the beginning, but at the end of term again, just to see, had I kind of met these UDL principles? So they were the list of questions I gave them. They agreed or strongly agreed that multiple means of representation, multiple means of action and expression, and multiple means of engagement were used. There was a neutral response as to whether the blog assignment was useful to them to enhance their understanding, so I'll develop that a bit further in the next slide, and whether their activities encourage self-reflection and identification of personal goals. So that's something for me to think about and work on. So the open-ended feedback, the top box there is strengths of the course. The strengths identified were mainly to do with the group work and the videos. They found these really helpful. They said it was a great way to work as a group and learn information. This student here said it allowed us students to be more creative, to work better in groups and set and achieve goals individually and as part of a group. The weaknesses of the course then, so in terms of the blog assignment, what one student did say was that the quality of notes weren't as good as it could have been. Most of the blog notes looked like they were just copied directly from the slides on Moodle. So they had higher expectations of their peers than what happened. And I think that's interesting, and that's something I can develop further. So what have I learnt from this UDL journey, and what am I taking with me into my current modules? Mainly installing students more in the process and giving them autonomy and choice over how they represent themselves. As I said, it seemed to really work. It seemed to give them great buy-in. Giving them clearer guidance, descriptions and notes, and the peer network, I really think, enhanced motivation and gave a deeper learning. That's it. Thank you.